For all your wireless needs, get to www.figures.com. Yes, that's www.figures.com. If you're looking for that new phone and you got your stimulus check, but that iPhone 12 seems to be twice as much as that stimulus check, go to figures.com for a reasonable phone with great service and great prices. Go to www.figures, that's FIGGERS.com, and at checkout, I want you to put in the code credit score. That's one word. Put in that code credit score for a discount. Go to www.figures.com for all your wireless needs. Good afternoon, and welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I am your host, Kevin King. He is I, and I am him, the 800 Credit Score Man himself. And once again, thank each and every one of you for coming in and listening to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I truly, truly appreciate it. Now, what's on deck today? What are we going to be talking about? We're going to be continuing our series, right? We got this series going where we're talking about what? We're talking about the 5 pillars of credit. Now, if you haven't gotten a book, my ebook, 5 Pillars of Credit, go to Amazon. Go to Amazon right now. Pause the show. Go to Amazon right now, and you get 5 Pillars of Credit. If you already have the book, go ahead and gift it to someone else. All you need is their email address. The book on Amazon is exactly $2.99, right? Plus applicable taxes. So go to Amazon, 5 Pillars of Credit by Kevin King, yours truly, the 800 Credit Score Man. So again, thanks for coming in. Happy New Year, everybody. We made it to the new year. So 2021 is here. 2020, forever gone. So no matter how well or how bad you did when it came to your credit, in 2020, 2021 is a new day. So if you did really good and you got, you got 40, 50 points during a year, you got 60 points added to your credit report during 2020, in 2021, we're going to go even higher, right? Whatever that goal is, wherever you set it, if it was to get to 700 and you passed that goal, now let's make it for 750. If you got the 750 and you want to get to 800, then you get to 800. It's going to happen in 2020 if you stay tuned in to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. So we're going to continue the 5 pillars of credit on this particular show. We've only got a couple more pillars to go before we complete the 5 pillars of credit. But again, go to Amazon and get that book. Ebook, you'll be able to read it in, over your lunch hour. You'll be able to read it for the low price of $2.99. Go check that book out. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to talk about length of history today. So we've covered a couple, 1, 2, 3. We've covered 3 of the 5 pillars already. We're going to cover a 4th pillar, basically in no particular order, but we're going to cover length of history today. Why is it important? And then how do you calculate it? All of those things that you need to know so you can win this credit game. Yes, it is a game. And to win any game, you need to know the rules. You absolutely have to know the rules. And sometimes it's not the big rules. If you're talking basketball, like pretty much everybody knows what a travel is, right? Everybody knows what a double dribble is. It's the nuance. It's the things that could win or lose the game when it comes down to it at the end. The man's out of bounds. Can the man run back and forth in basketball and he's out of bounds? Can they dribble out of bounds? What is that called? So you need to know the nuance, the very, very small things that can make or break the game and determine if you win or lose. Everybody listen to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. You are winners. You are going to win this credit game because you're going to continue to listen to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. All right, so let's do these shout-outs right quick. Naisha Shaw, this is my god sister. Happy birthday to you. Kay Monell celebrated her birthday on the very first day of the new year, just like Naisha. Marcus Rollins, this is like my nephew. Marcus, happy birthday to you, sir. Alfonso Denson. Now, Alfonso, AJ, as we call him, is actually my great nephew. So you know how you people say, "Hey, I remember when you were born." Alfonso, I am so young that I remember when your father was born. That's how young I am. So happy 18th birthday to you, great nephew. Kevin Kimball and Lee Morgan both celebrate birthdays, two of my frat brothers. So yo to you guys as well. So everybody, welcome in to the 800 Credit Score Man Show in 2021. Now, I told you we're going to talk about the length of history today. We're going to go through that. It's actually going to be a short show today. Length of history is important. There's not a whole lot to it. So you should be able to grasp this in a shorter amount of time and be able to navigate this as well. So it's not a long, drawn out particular thing that you need to know about length of history, but we're going to talk about its importance for you and your credit. So we're going to talk about that for sure today on the 800 Credit Score Man Show. So when it comes down to your length of history, how important really is this particular pillar? Why is it even part of the formula when it comes to your credit and your credit score? Let's talk about the why a little bit. Oh, first of all, let me do this recap. What did we talk about before? We talked about your inquiries or your credit pulls, right? That was 10% of your credit score. We talked about the credit mix. That was 10% of your credit score. We talked about payment history last week, and so that was 35% of your credit score. The pillar that is the most, that has the most and the biggest weighting when it comes to your credit score was that payment history. So that was 35%. So with those three, we've covered just over half of what makes up your credit score, 55%, when you add the 10, and the 35. So today, since we're so close and we're just over 50% at 55% of what makes up your credit score, we're going to get a little closer today to that 100% by going over your length of history. So let's talk about why your length of history is important and why is it part of this particular formula anyway when it comes to your credit report. Stability. Everything is about risk and risk aversion, risk management when it comes to TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, FICO, as well as the lenders. It's all about risk and managing that risk. So they want to know how stable you are. To them, they're better able to evaluate how responsible you are, how credit worthy you are, dealing with and taking a look at your credit length of history. So, of course, a person that has just established credit, they've had credit for 3 months, they haven't missed a payment. Well, hurrah, hurrah for them. That's great. However, they don't really compare that well to someone that has had credit for, let's say, 8 years. Somebody's had credit for 8 years. Maybe they had a hiccup once or twice. They had a late payment or something of that nature. However, their track record, there's more data there. There's more time for us to evaluate them and see how responsible or credit worthy they truly are. So that particular person has a lot more data and they've had more experience with this. So the systems, whether it's FICO or if you're looking at Vantage Score or if it's TransUnion, Equifax, or Experian, the system gives them some credit, quote unquote, if you will, for being around a long time. And then they're able to look at their credit history and see how well or how not so well they have made payments and things of that nature. So that's why it's important and it's part of this particular formula. So lenders, again, like I said, it's all about risk management for them. So how risky is it for them to lend you money? It's why that even on your applications, oftentimes they want to know how long you have been at your job. How long have you lived here? How long have you lived that place? How long have you even been in the same industry when it comes to your work? Typically, if it's less than 2 years, they're asking for additional information. Like typically, if you are filling out an application and you've been at your job 1 year and 8 months, they want to know where did you work before that. Not necessarily all the time after, you work someplace more than 2 years. Same thing with where you live. They want to know, if you've been at this place for a year, where did you live before that? Now, if you got 4 different addresses over the last 5 years, then to them, that makes you risky. You are a person that they need to be careful with when it comes to lending you money. They want to see if you're actually stable. So they are trying to see how stable you are. Transient people, people that move about, transient people in their experiences are more likely to skip out on a bill or more difficult to find if they skip out on a bill. So if a person is always moving and, it's just more difficult for one of the accounts to actually find you. If you got a card with J.C. Penney's or pick a place, doesn't matter if it doesn't have to be J.C. Penney's. You got a card with Target, you got a Visa card, whatever it is, but you move and they're sending your statements to that address that they have on file, then you're not getting that and you may not pay them. So for them, people that are transient are more risky. So that may determine, do we give this person a credit card limit of $500 or $5,000? We need to see. So, and when it comes to your length of history, like I talked about the person with 3 months of history, do we get this person with just 3 months of history that really haven't proven themselves? They were able to go ahead and make payments for 3 months on time. Do we give that person $500 or $5,000? They're determining risk when it comes to that. So it's very important. Now, at 15%, yes, the length of history is 15% of your credit score. So this particular pillar is of the 5 pillars of credit, it sits right in the middle. It has the third highest weighting. So first we talked about it last week. We talked about what's first, 35% at payment history. All right. And at the third one of the 5, you have your length of history, and that makes it absolutely important. It has more weighting than what your credit mix is. It has more weighting than what those inquiries do as well. So at 15%, when every point counts, this absolutely helps out. Now, what we've covered, when we add this 15%, we will be at 70% of what makes up your credit score. Now, so let's talk about this particular pillar. Now, this particular pillar, length of history, in my opinion only, it's just named incorrectly. Like, length of history says to me that, okay, I got my first credit card or my first car when I was 18 or 19 years old. So however old I turn out to be, if I happen to be 60 years old, then I should have, 40 years worth of credit history when you just say your length of history. But that's not actually how it works. It doesn't work that way at all. It should be your average length of history. It should be your average length of history because they're calculating what's on your credit report. Because again, not everything stays on your credit report forever, right? So they're calculating what's on your credit report. They're taking the oldest account, they're taking the newest account, and all the accounts in between, and they're looking at those months, and they're saying, okay, this is how long this person has had credit. Well, that's your average length of history. Now, that's a mouthful, really, right? That's a mouthful if you say your average length of history. In my opinion, length of history is actually too long to be saying, but that's a mouthful if you're saying that your average length of history. Now, where do you find this at? Where do you find this at, your length of history? And how do you calculate it? Now, you could calculate it yourself, or you can attempt to. I don't think it's worth it. I have never done it on somebody that had, 15, 20 accounts or whatever. I've done it, just to kind of see where I fall because I'm curious like that. If a person has 4 or 5 accounts, not so difficult to go ahead and figure out. Take a look at your Credit Karma, your Credit Sesames. If you've got some other place where you actually get your credit report, oftentimes they'll tell you what your length of history is. So figure it out for you. So like on Credit Karma, it's going to say credit age. That's what they're calling it on Credit Karma. So you'll get to see how long that is. Let me tell you this. The average history, the average length of history in America is about 4.4 years to 5 years, just depending on whose data you actually believe, all right, who you want to go by. So that's the average. So if you're under that, you look at yours and it says, you've got 3 years worth, you're a little